Your life ends here.
Heard that one before.
It might not be the Prince that was promised, yet soon after rolling credits on this latest take on the long dormant Ubisoft series, I can already say that Prince of Persia The Lost Crown exudes much more creativity and breaks braver boundaries than any forthcoming Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake could ever hope to do. Here is a game that initially gained a lot of flack for everything it wasn't. It wasn't 3D, didn't feature the classic Prince, and wouldn't let players rewind time at will upon death. How wonderfully ironic it is, then, that it's precisely because of these differences, alongside many more, that The Lost Crown is easily one of the best Metroidvanias I've played in a while. The first thing to say is that Prince of Persia The Lost Crown doesn't require any knowledge of the prior games. Sure, the idea of toying with time bleeds into certain gameplay mechanics, and some familiar thematic elements pop up in the narrative every now and then, but mostly this is an all-new 2D adventure that serves as a fresh start. Such stance is made instantly apparent by the fact that you don't even play as the titular prince, but rather a street thief turned servant of the crown named Sargon, part of an elite team of royal protectors known as the Immortals. What begins as a simple mission to rescue back the kidnapped prince swiftly transforms into something far more intriguing, I'll say, with Sargon tasked with exploring the labyrinthine location of Mount Kaf in search of answers. It certainly is a cliche to say it, but the setting truly is the star of the show here in Prince of Persia The Lost Crown. From a storm-laden ocean that's frozen due to being trapped in time, to an ancient archive patrolled by ghoulish guardians, the map you're afforded to explore is absolutely massive in size but also variety, gradually opening up to you slowly over time, as any good Metroidvania should, as you unlock and master new ways to traverse. Unlike a lot of other Metroidvanias though, this is one that treats combat almost equally as important as exploration. And unfortunately, this is where the first chinks in the armour appear. Prince of Persia The Lost Crown is no slouch in the difficulty department, you see, with enemies hitting back hard when Sargon is left open to attack. And even when you do get to take the fight back to them with your pair of dual swords, they take so many hits that managing larger groups becomes annoying. True, you do have opportunities to improve the effectiveness of Sargon's attacks and his health over time, but it takes a while to reach this point and doesn't discount how much you'll likely get your ass beaten in the early hours. Fortunately, the simple block maneuver can be used to counter enemies when they threaten to charge you with gold-hinted attacks. The timing necessary to pull this off is incredibly precise though, and in my 15 hours fighting through Mount Kaf's legions, I never felt like I had a solid grip or handle on it, let alone to the point where I could ever use it reliably. When Sargon's counter is engaged successfully, you're always treated to a visual treat in the form of a slick and stylish animation. It makes sense these moments have an epic flair to them too, because getting it to work felt like a true accomplishment. Your best chance at countering these slight combat hindrances is through the amulet system, whereby you can equip Sargon with your ideal combination of what are essentially buffs that are more geared to your style of play. From simple improvements such as arrow hits doing more damage, slowing down time temporarily after a successful parry, to bringing Sargon back one time after a killing blow, all have their own level and add a lot of mechanical depth. The same can be said for the handful of Athra surges Sargon has at his disposal too. These work as super abilities that can be deployed whenever your meter of 1, then 2, and finally 3 levels is built up, letting you engage a healing or aggressive effect that can quickly turn the tide of battle. I found these of most use during Prince of Persia The Lost Crown's generous number of boss fights, letting me stand my ground and providing a little space as I began the process of learning their specific patterns. Each one of these feel like a true event as they should, often making expert use of Sargon's latest traversal powers in a more direct manner. From a technical perspective, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown is absolutely flawless, most of the time. I played on Nintendo Switch, and even here I was able to enjoy a silky smooth frame rate of 60 FPS no matter how chaotic on-screen events became. With a handheld console this old, it's surely an impressive feat. Sadly, there were a couple of boss fight instances where hit detection glitched out on me. First with a bow character called Menelaus, where his attacks would no longer register. And then the absolute inverse happened in the game's later hours, where I was fighting an undead king. 2 times did I reach a point in the fight where he wouldn't receive my hits, forcing me to reload. That being said, there's no denying that the gameplay and design fundamentals of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown are something to be celebrated. Surprisingly tricky enemies and handful of glitches aside, this is an expert example of what can happen when a publisher like Ubisoft is willing to take a risk with one of its most prestigious franchises. It really is reminiscent of when Assassin's Creed was put on ice, allowing creatives to reinvent its approach to the series with Assassin's Creed Origins. In this case, it's been a 14-year-long wait, but Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was absolutely worth it. Don't let this being a Metroidvania played from a 2D perspective sway you from thinking that it's somehow lesser than. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a smart remix of concepts and ideas we've seen in the series before, true, but given a smart Metroidvania makeover that knows when to stay true to this classic genre and when to build upon it, such as with the amulet system, epic bosses, and surprisingly ambitious, though contained, story. If all things Prince of Persia continues to go in this direction, my only hope is that the sands of time pour much quicker next time, so we're not waiting as long for the sequel. We give Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown a 4 out of 5. So there you have it in terms of our full review thoughts on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Do you plan on picking it up, or are you intrigued? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. And then when you've done that, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Ha 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 ha! Let's go then.